And now it's time to get weird with giant, gaping space. I'm Sasha Perlraver. I didn't write that line, and this is Screen Junkies News. We've seen plenty of Marvel movies on Earth, but it seems increasingly more evident that Kevin Feige will not be happy until he's taken the Avengers to outer space. Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston both sat down with IGN to talk about their upcoming film, Kong, Skull Island, and both of them gave some great answers about their roles in the MCU that takes us to infinity and beyond. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist a shout out to my boy Buzz. We'll get into the quotes in a second, but first, we've got to introduce our panel. With us to discuss is Dan Murrell, editor-in-chief of Screen Junkies News, Roth Cornet. All right, kids.
Sounds so fancy when you say that.
Girl, you is fancy. You know who else is fancy? The girl playing Captain Marvel.
She is.
So Brie Larson said, and I quote, "Just the fact that Captain Marvel can be a bridge between two worlds, that she can go to Earth and she can go to space, and that her own personal space is in this little area where Earth ends and space begins, that's only hers, that's so moving to me." So what do we think? We know that her movie happens after the first Infinity War. Where do we think it will take place, Roth?
You know, it's, well, clearly between space and Earth. Infinity War is going to open up a lot of that, right? Marvel's getting more and more cosmic. The Guardians are certainly going to be a big part of it. Ragnarok is going to have happen. But what I'm curious about is it feels like to me that her origin is going to happen during Infinity War. And then so that she's going to start out Infinity War as a pilot, maybe offering, which Matt Key and I talked about this, maybe offering an assist to the Avengers, and then she's going to get her powers. And Captain Marvel's really powerful. So then her movie, I think, is going to be learning how to wield those powers, dealing with the Kree maybe, trying to get everybody together to fight against Thanos. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, you know, this idea of we started off with Earth and then we expanded to the different realms through Thor. And then with Ant-Man, we get introduced to the microverse. And then Doctor Strange introduced us to the multiverse. Guardians of the Galaxy introduced us to different parts of the universe, of the galaxy. So I think that, you know, what they're doing is that it's world building. It's basically saying, okay, Captain Marvel now is going to have her own little pocket of space, which is good because there's not too much room left on Earth for superheroes to have adventures.
Right.
Yeah. They've really kind of cratered or destroyed or covered every continent on Earth. So you do have to find stuff. And if she's out in the galaxy, then every question is, well, where's Star-Lord? Yeah, they're going to have to figure out somewhere for her to go. You know, folding her into Infinity War for me would be a little troubling just because that's another plot thread that has to be served. And I think we saw with Age of Ultron that if you overstuff these things, that could be problematic. That could be troublesome.
Okay, so you guys are talking a lot about how she's a bridge, how she can come in because she's in between space and time, or space and Earth. What do we think about the fact that Infinity War doesn't come out until 2018, but Guardians will be out very soon? Any possibility that she is the Easter egg?
I don't think so.
No?
James Gunn is very adamant that his movies are his movies, that they are not there to world build, that he makes movies about the Guardians of the Galaxy. And, you know, there may be a hint at what's coming, but I don't see them folding another origin story into Guardians. He's very protective of those movies, and rightfully so. I mean, he has his own vision for those things. I would be very surprised if they do anything other than just a clean Guardian story.
What about an end credit sequence? You don't think there's that possibility?
Yeah, but that's probably going to either kick to Spider-Man Homecoming or Ragnarok, or if it's going Black Panther even.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I don't know. I mean, I really think that, and the writers have talked about that their concern with her origin is that to them it feels too similar to Green Lantern, which I don't necessarily
Well, there's the test pilot thing. There's it is similar. It has shades of green.
Yeah. So they're trying to stay away from it. So that is the reason that I would speculate that we're not going to see her until Infinity War, and then when we do, she's not going to have her powers yet.
Right.
And then they're going to work. And I agree with you. Infinity War gets tricky with so many different characters and all of the plot.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. The idea that maybe it's going to be told from the villain's point of view. How rad would that be?
It would be rad, but we were talking about villains, we're talking about Ragnarok, and there is another quote that Mr. Hiddleston gave about the character I cannot wait to see, and that is Cate Blanchett's Hela. So he said, Cate Blanchett, it's no secret, is playing the goddess of death, who brings destruction in her wake. And it's a kind of destruction that both Thor and Loki have never seen. On a scale of terror they've never seen before, so they fall back on their brotherhood, fractured though it is, to see what they can do to stop her. Thor and Loki, friends to the end.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like what they did in
Frenemies.
the last Thor movie.
Well, okay, so the rumor, and did you guys hear this rumor about the last Thor movie, which they were really, and spoilers, I guess I'll do the spoiler hands.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
I mean, it's
Spoiler.
Dark
Spoiler.
World. It's like 4-year-old spoiler.
Oh, wow, it blacked out for a second, so now we're
Whoa.
back. Go.
We're back. So that they were really going to kill him, that they really were going to kill Loki in that movie. And then they tested it and people were like, no.
Was that when it tested at 30%?
Yeah, they were like, you can't kill what is arguably the most popular character in that franchise.
Yeah,
Though
for
Taika
sure.
Waititi, I think, is trying to change that and make Thor the key most popular character.
Right.
But so then they didn't. And now I think they're just trying to turn it around and really have Loki have a full redemption arc. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which I
mean,
think
you can never
is
really
what
trust
you
a
need.
trickster.
You can't trust a
can't.
trickster. You also can't trust a Hiddleston who always wants to make headlines for
sure
himself.
does.
But
can't
I think
blame
that
him.
that makes the most sense also because when we talk about what's happening in the Marvelverse, you also have to talk about characters that are going to phase out. Iron Man is going to phase out. Chris Evans does not want to stay around forever.
Yeah.
Like there are characters that have to step into larger roles, and we know very well that Hiddleston wants nothing more than to be the centerpiece of one of these things. What are you thinking, Dan?
I think that, Chris Hemsworth can't subsist on a diet of chicken and soy for the rest of his life and work out 18 hours a day. The guy wants a pizza every once in a while. He wants to drop that 40 pounds of Thor weight that he's got to carry around. Yeah, I mean, they're at a very tenuous point right now, the MCU. This is kind of their season 2, if you will, point where, there's going to be Chris Evans has been fairly open about the fact that he is not planning to play Captain America forever. Robert Downey Jr., I mean, they had to back up the Brinks truck to get him back for Civil War
right.
to do that. And, he's obviously folding into these films more, but he's said he doesn't want to play Iron Man forever. This first generation of Avengers is going to have to start cycling out.
Yeah.
And I think that they're doing fairly, it's who's going to be the next one. It's like it can't be based on Hawkeye and Vision. That's
love
not
that Vision,
that's
though.
not going to bring.
But it could be
not.
Vision and
It could be
Spider-Man.
Vision and
It could be Vision and
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
Loki
and Black Panther and
Black
Captain
Panther,
Marvel,
Captain Marvel,
but they
yeah.
have to get this right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing is they can't muck up introducing these new characters because these are going to be the ones that are going to have to be
Carry
the
them,
franchise
yeah.
bearers. I think Sebastian Stan. I
like
think would be
Sebastian
great
Stan.
if Sebastian Stan kind of got his moment in the sun and gets to take over the role of Cap. I think he would do well at that. But yeah, these are very tenuous times for the MCU because things can go bad very quickly.
They can. And also, I think we have to look at the wording of what he says. He uses the word destruction twice. He talks about terror. What do you think he actually means when he says this is a scale of terror that we've never seen before?
Ragnarok. It's going to, I honestly think, to your point, Dan, I really think that what we have coming ahead, because you're right, contracts are up, people don't want to do this forever. They are obviously setting us up for a whole new team of Avengers, and I love that Vision. So he should be, it's probably going to be exactly that team. Vision, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, possibly
Scarlet
Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch maybe.
Yeah.
I think that poor Sebastian Stan has been waiting for his moment to have that turn, Winter Soldier become Cap. But I think we really are totally going to see the destruction of Ragnarok, not just the threat of it, but have it play out in this film and have it actually be destroyed. And then, because you get into Infinity War, and I think that we're going to see a lot of deaths. And the assumption for fans would be, Doctor Strange is going to just reach in and hit that reset button, which he can do, and which is a thing that makes that character tricky to utilize. But I think he probably will, but not everyone will come back.
Right.
There will be real losses.
Contract negotiations,
Yeah.
son. Too many contract negotiations. Dan?
I'm so curious what changed for them to not split Infinity War into 2 movies. I'm very curious to know why that change occurred, and was it just a marketing thing, or I think that Marcus and McFeely, the screenwriters from that are working on that, the Russo brothers, are pretty they're pretty tuned into what audiences want. And I'm very curious to see where we are at the end of Infinity War and what it could have been, because I feel like they had originally maybe envisioned, or maybe Marvel had envisioned, some kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And I want to know what that next movie is called, because I think it's going to be maybe that second Avengers movie is the new team. And maybe Infinity War is where we say goodbye to some people.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's them not splitting. I was very heartened to hear that they didn't split it into 2 parts. I hope it's not just an in name only. I really do hope that they put a bow on some stuff in that first one.
Yeah.
And we'll see what the second Avengers movie is.
I feel like if this is told, which again, I know I keep saying because I just think it was such a cool idea, from the villain's perspective, as if you're like watching him being like, no, I want those stones and I'm going to go get them. And that's how you meet all of the other characters. And that's how you deal with them, is 100% through his point of view, from Thanos' point of view. And then at the end of that movie he has been very successful.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're left in a weird feeling place, that he's been very successful and you've been following him. And now the next movie you turn around and they're in extreme peril and you're seeing it from the hero's point of view trying to fight back. That'd be cool.
Very, very cool. I would love that. Well, and also I wonder, with the success of Logan, which I think we can all sort of predict, do you think that there is going to be more of a focus on singular characters as opposed to large groups?
I hope so. I liked Ant-Man a lot. I thought Doctor Strange was cliched in some places, but I liked the fact that it was confined to his story.
Oh, Dan, you just didn't do enough drugs before you saw it.
That may be true.
You
I
just
don't know.
haven't done enough drugs in your life because you didn't need to do them before. If you've done
So
plenty
true.
before then, we're just kidding. We don't advocate.
Don't do drugs.
We're not advocating
Don't do drugs, but if you
We
did
just
do
don't
drugs, you
want you to do
recognize what
drugs.
they did in Doctor
We're just
Strange.
saying that if you did,
No, just eat a lot of sugar.
sugar is also
Sugar is good. It's a drug.
You
Don't
can
do
have-
drugs. Don't do sugar.
cane sugar alcohol.
Right. What?
I don't know.
Maple syrup.
You talk, Dan.
I don't mind a good standalone. That's all I was trying to say. Yeah.
What do you think? Logan, also with Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool, everything got pushed to like, now it's got to be R-rated. And then with Logan, I think there's going to be sort of the following of that. But I also think that people are going to go, oh, we don't need 19 star names to push a film.
I feel like Logan, too, the thing about Logan and Deadpool that they have in common, they're very different movies, tonally speaking,
Very.
but they're very aligned with what those stories should be. And I think that the success of those films individually is that they let them tell the story they needed to tell. They let the characters be who they needed to be. Wolverine is very violent, and it's bloody and brutal, and it should feel like that. And Deadpool's a smartass, and it should feel like that. And so that to me is the lesson. It's not chase that tone. It's not chase that type of movie. It's let the movie be what it needs to be. Marvel's telling different kind of stories. And I hope, to your point, Dan, that there's room for all of it, because I also loved Ant-Man, which is as close as they get to a real standalone story.
So far. But we want to know what you think. Do you want to see more personal, singular MCU films? Are you excited about what we've heard from Hiddleston and from our new Captain Marvel, Brie Larson? Let us know in the comments below. You can always like and subscribe. Click here for more internets. We'll see you again soon on SJ News.